Hello, I'm Rick Robinson, and welcome to O'Side De-Mystified, episode number 4. I hope you've enjoyed watching these camcasts as much as I have enjoyed making them, and I have to thank the amazing production staff here at KOCT for all their technical expertise. I have no idea how they make it all work so well. There's something else that I don't know how it all works, and that is how water comes out of the faucet, where it all goes with a flush, and what happens to the solid waste when the trash cans are picked up. My guest today has all those answers and more, so let's not waste any time and get right into the flow of today's topic. Please join me in welcoming the Oceanside Director of Water Utilities, Lindsay Leahy. Well, welcome, Lindsay. Thank you for being here today, and I appreciate you giving us your time. I want to start off a little bit about what you do with the city, what your job is, and if you would, talk a little bit about yourself and how you got into this line of work.
Well, thank you for having me, Councilmember Robinson. I'm Lindsay Leahy. I'm the Water Utilities Director for the City of Oceanside. I kind of stumbled into the water industry, was never on my radar or something that I ever thought I'd want to do. A little background about myself. I went to college for engineering. I have a mechanical engineering degree and a mechanical engineering license. And when I got out of school, I needed a job, and I actually started working for a construction company that built water and wastewater treatment plants. So that was how I got into this. Was my first day on the job was at a wastewater plant, and I thought there is no way I'm ever going to get used to this smell. Well, I got used to that pretty quickly. So just kind of fell in love with it, which is a weird way to get into this industry. But as I've gone around and met with all of our staff, I've found that pretty much 90% of all of our staff have kind of fallen into water and wastewater. This is a legacy job that they have family or friends that are in, which is pretty cool. So very roundabout way to get into it, but it's been great.
And how long have you been with the city and in your current position?
I have been with the city for almost 5 years now. I've only been the director since last July, so not even a year yet. I was the principal water engineer, and I oversaw the capital program for the Water Utilities Department prior to that.
So are there a lot of career opportunities in working for a city? Is that a good department to go to work for?
Water and wastewater is a great career opportunity. We can offer positions to people with little to no experience straight out of school. We have trainee positions, and almost every discipline that you might have an interest in, we probably have a career for you. We have operators that treat water and wastewater. We have people that are out in the field repairing our pipelines. And we even have our own machine shop and fabrication shop where we have guys welding, working on motors. We have full-time electricians. If you're really into the computers, we've got SCADA and communications. And then we've got all of our admin staff. So we have finance people, engineers,
scientists?
We have actually, thank you for reminding, we have a full certified lab here within the city where we do all of our own water testing, wastewater testing, and we actually do that for some of our neighbors and neighboring agencies as well.
So individuals can have a long career by working in the water department.
Yes, we find that most people, once they're in the industry, they stay in. And one of the things I like to say is this is more or less a recession-proof industry. People are always going to be using water, and they're always going to be flushing their toilets. So as long as that keeps happening, we still have jobs.
So you talked a little bit about it, but what falls under water services here in Oceanside? What do you fully oversee?
So the Water Utilities Department in Oceanside is a little bit unique compared to other agencies and other cities. The Water Utilities Department oversees all water, sewer, and as well as solid waste disciplines. So we are full service. We treat drinking water, distribute that drinking water. We also collect wastewater, treat the wastewater. We treat recycled water. We have the first advanced treated water project in San Diego County, which is Pure Water Oceanside. We also have an entire Green O team, our Green Oceanside team, which does all of our environmental work. So we have water efficiency, watershed protection, so our rivers, beaches. We have industrial compliance, again, with our labs, but then a solid waste side, we also manage the franchise agreement with Waste Management and all of our solid waste recycling programs for the city.
That's a lot of responsibility for you.
It is a lot. Yes.
You mentioned treating wastewater. Where, after it's treated, where does it go?
So normally, if we're just treating the wastewater, it's actually sent out to the ocean. We have an ocean outfall. It just sends the water out about 2 miles out into the Pacific Ocean, which is a lost resource for the city and for most agencies. We're trying to look at ways that we can, instead of just sending that out to the ocean and throwing it away, how we can reuse that.
Where do we get most of our water?
So most of our water, we actually purchase from our water wholesaler, the San Diego County Water Authority. And that water comes either from the Colorado River or the Bay Delta. So up until about last year, about 90% of our water was imported from those two sources. And about 10% came from our groundwater aquifer here in Oceanside, which we're really lucky to have. But since last year, when we brought Pure Water Oceanside online, that's increased our local supply about 20%. So now the city will have about 30% of our water as a local supply here.
That's great, and I think we're going to talk a little bit more about pure water in a minute.
Water is too precious to use just once. Pure Water Oceanside purifies recycled water to create drinking water, critical in an arid region largely dependent on importing. 2022 marks Pure Water Oceanside as the first operating advanced water purification project in San Diego County. How do you spotlight such an important project? Through strategic public outreach and education. We splashed creativity on blank walls for an interactive experience and hosted a bustling tour program welcoming the public to experience Pure Water Oceanside. We explained project benefits through educational materials, interactive maps, and videos. Our World of Water event attracted hundreds of people. We hosted a celebratory groundbreaking that drew the community, dignitaries, and extensive media coverage. We even created a 360-degree video for people to take a tour from anywhere. Oceanside made it a priority for the community to understand the project, and we shined a light on it by creating an educational experience that officially put Pure Water Oceanside on the map.
Keep America beautiful. Make it a family project.
Best practice has been be a positive member of the community that you want to see impact in.
Every time I do something like that, the community comes out and they help.
That's what inspires others, is when they see people being out there and doing the work.
There is no power greater than a community discovering what it cares about.
We are all in a really powerful moment. It's a moment of opportunity to do things differently, to have different conversations, and to think about the work that we have to do to save our planet.
What kind of infrastructure or work sites, you know, if people were to look around, I know we drive by them every day and don't notice them, but what kind of things would people notice if we were looking?
So we do try to stay a little bit under the radar, and we don't want to be an eyesore, but the city has 5 separate treatment plants throughout the city. We have about 34 lift stations. So the lift stations are really just small buildings for most cases that you might see. They might look a little obscure, and they'll have some security gates around them. But then a lot of our infrastructure is mainly underground. So pipelines, we have other smaller lift stations underground. You'll see we have about 12 drinking water reservoirs throughout the city, up in the hills usually. But we're all over our 5 treatment plants. We've got Weiss filtration plant, which is actually located in the city of Vista, and that's our primary drinking water plant. We have Mission Basin Groundwater Purification Facility, which is over off of Fireside and near where the old drive-in movie theater is. Right. So that's our groundwater treatment plant. And then we have 2 wastewater plants. Our San Luis Rey Water Reclamation Facility is where we treat the majority of our wastewater, as well as treat our recycled water, and is the home of Pure Water Oceanside, our advanced water plant. And then La Salina is our coastal wastewater treatment plant over by Buccaneer Beach. And that's our oldest plant, which was built in the 40s.
And we have plans to decommission that, for lack of a better word?
No, that's the exact word. So yes, we do have plans to decommission that plant. There were 2 options, either to rehabilitate it or to decommission it and build a lift station. And that was the most cost-effective option for the city and for the ratepayers, was to actually build a lift station which will pump the wastewater inland to our La Salina plant and allow us to centralize all of the wastewater treatment at that one facility, which also allows us to reuse that wastewater if we choose to expand those systems.
And I believe I'm correct in saying that you're mostly funded by ratepayers, correct, your department?
We are almost 100% funded by ratepayers. The only other funding we would get would be from grants, and that would just be money from the state or the federal government.
There's always a lot of concern about water rates. Can you talk briefly about how water rates are set, how we do that?
Yeah, of course. So every 2 years, we do what's called the cost of service study. So we take a look at the actual costs for us to run our operations. So run both our water and our wastewater enterprise funds. And it's really important that only money spent and are paid by ratepayers for water services can only go towards water operations and water projects. Money coming in and revenue coming in for wastewater bills can only go to wastewater operations and wastewater projects, and we have to keep them very separate. And similarly, water and wastewater money does not go to the other city funds or to the general fund, and the general fund cannot pay for water or wastewater projects. So every 2 years, we take a look at what the actual cost to treat, distribute water, and collect and treat wastewater, and determine how much it costs for us to do that, and we'll do a rate evaluation. So then, to establish rates, what we have to do is we have to follow, it's called Proposition 218, where we have to put out a public notice to our customers and notify them what the rate changes are going to be, and do a public hearing with the customers and with city council to approve those rates and make it a public process.
So the public has input into rates, and they can talk about their concerns and things like that.
Correct. And
does that take place during the normal budget cycle?
It does not take place in the normal budget cycle. We'll typically do it every 2 years where we evaluate those rates. So the next time we would look at those rates would probably be fall of this coming year, and then any changes would be effective January 2024.
Well, and as a council member, I see emails on this next topic, and I want to talk about our new metering system, water metering system. It's a new technology, correct?
Correct.
Why did we make that change?
So the new meter project is it's called an Advanced Metering Infrastructure, or AMI. The city in general, and the core of the project is the city needed to replace the water meters that essentially are that essentially counts how much water each household or customer is using. And all of those meters were essentially at the end of their useful life. So knowing that they had to be replaced citywide, we looked at actually adding a communication network which will communicate the hourly consumption of each customer, and allow that customer to see what their water use is, and most importantly, be alerted of if they have any issues. So if you have a leak on your property, if you have continuously running water, perhaps you have your irrigation system running too frequently, it allows you to see those patterns, and so that you as the customer can adjust your water use and be more aware of your water consumption.
And for the customer, they can sign up for that information through the city website, through your webpage, or?
So you can find the information on the city's website, or you can go to oceanside.watersmart.com. And that's where you can log in. You'll log in your city's account number information, and you'll be able to see your water use, how you compare to similar households in the city and as far as your water consumption, and then sign up for either text or email alerts or both. And so you can be alerted if there's an issue at your property, and be aware of that and be able to resolve the problem.
And I'll just share for everybody out there, since the new meter went in at my house, I've had 3 alerts. It was great because one was a stuck toilet that in a bathroom that we use mostly for guests, and it ran, and we were told that, hey, you're running water. Another time it was, I left a irrigation line, not all the way, a garden hose basically was open a little bit and still running. And after 24 hours, you find out you're losing a lot of water. And so I was very grateful to have that alert system come through and tell me. So that's just my personal experience with it. So thank you for getting those in.
Yeah, that's great to hear. We actually, I found out that in 2022, we had only installed about half the meters in the city and had sent out over 94,000 leak alerts, and estimated leak volume that was caught was over 500 million gallons of water. So had people not been alerted, that would have continued, and we would have been wasting more water.
It's a great conversation. And I say this to every guest, that the clock isn't our friend here as we get going. So I'm going to talk, I want you to talk about a couple of other things that I think are real important. And Pure Water Oceanside, I think a lot of people have heard it. Mm-hmm. Can you explain briefly what Pure Water Oceanside is?
Yeah, so Pure Water Oceanside is what we call a potable reuse project, and it essentially is creating about 20% of our water as a local supply. So we take recycled water, we run it through 3 additional treatment processes: an ultrafiltration, reverse osmosis, which is similar to what's used in desal plants, as well as a ultraviolet light advanced oxidation process, which is similar to what is used to disinfect baby food jars and medical equipment. That water is then injected into our very own groundwater aquifer here in Oceanside. The water travels through the aquifer for about 6 more months, which is in itself another treatment process. We pull that water back out, treat it one more time with reverse osmosis, and then can distribute it to the customers of Oceanside. So yeah, that creates about 20% of our water supply, and it's our own water that we're able to reuse and not impact the Colorado River and the Bay Delta and import that water, which is great.
I've seen the plant, and it's pretty amazing.
The Oceanside Fire Department is the second busiest department in San Diego County, running approximately 24,000 calls a year. About 17,000 of those are related to rescue or EMS. So if you're looking for experience as an EMT, come look at the Oceanside Fire Department.
My name is Kevin Rankin. I'm a probationary firefighter paramedic with the city of Oceanside.
And my name is Daniel Garcia. I'm a probationary firefighter paramedic.
As an Oceanside EMT, you get to do radio reports, get hands-on experience, and driving as well.
Whether it's a fire, a water rescue, or any medical aid, they make you feel like you're a part of the crew and you're a part of that team.
Thanks to the citizens of Oceanside voting in Measure X in 2019, we have had approximately 40 of our EMTs move on to become full-time firefighter paramedics.
There's no other department like this at all. I couldn't have it any other way.
On May 1st, we're opening up applications for EMT.
Come to Oceanside Fire Department, where you'll get
real experience that matters.
We're learning today about the Recycle Smart website, greenoceanside.org. It's the place to go to learn how to recycle right in Oceanside. Single-use plastic bags? Just say no. They are not recyclable. But if you still end up with them, landfill them. Still have questions or want more information? We've got you covered. The city's Green Oceanside campaign is committed to sustainability in partnership with Waste Management.
couple quick questions I want to get in here is we talked a lot about the construction building going on in the city. Can people be confident that with all the building and growth in Oceanside, we're going to have enough water?
As far as development, yes, you could be confident in that. So the department does every 5 years, it's called an urban water management plan, where we actually look at all of the current and future water consumption up to 20 years to ensure that we have enough supply here in Oceanside. And that's part of the great thing about developing a local supply is even if there are cutbacks elsewhere, we are more dependent on ourselves, and those cutbacks aren't going to hurt Oceanside. But even those properties that are vacant currently, we assume that at some point something is going to be built there, and there is an assumed amount of water that we plan that property will eventually use. So that is part of our calculations in our planning, yes.
Okay, great. So looking forward, we're pretty sure we're not going to run out of water.
Not at this time.
Drought, in it, out of it, where are we right now?
I think it's fair to say at this point we should always be conserving water and always assume that we are in a state of drought. I know this winter we've had a lot of rain, which has been great, but there are still impacted areas like the Colorado that are going to have to replenish themselves. So we need to continue to always be water wise and conserve water as best we can.
Great. And one of your customers that's very important to me out in my district too is our agricultural district, our zones. How about our farmers? What can be done, or what's the city doing to help with water in that agricultural areas?
So first, we do definitely want to maintain agriculture here in Oceanside and in San Diego County. So that is a big concern for the region. There is a special agricultural rate users can sign up for. It's called PSAR, or Permanent Special Agricultural Water Rate. And the reason it's a lower rate is those farmers essentially aren't paying for water storage. The compromise there is that if we do ever have to cut back water, that those customers would have to cut back first. So that is a gamble that those customers would have to take. But as far as, again, developing local supply and being able to supply reliable, lower cost water, the city's looking at developing a recycled water project to supply those farmers with recycled water, which would be a lower cost water than it would be for potable water use. And they would be able to blend that water with their groundwater well water that they produce at their sites.
All right. And as we get to the last couple of minutes we have, I just want to ask you, for individuals that may be having trouble paying their water bills or are there resources available to the public at the city level or county level or that may need assistance?
Yes, there are. There's a program that's a state level program. It's called the LIHWAP program. It's LIHWAP, so Low Income Household Water Assistance Program. And you can find that information on the City of Oceanside's website. It's under the City of Oceanside and go to the Water Utilities page, and then it's under Utility Relief Program, and there would be all the information about who qualifies for that program, how much of your past due balances that program will pay for, and how to sign up and apply for it.
Well, great. Thank you. And in just the last minute, I was just looking at the O'Sider magazine. This is actually the January-February edition, and there was an interesting article, 10 things you didn't know about Oceanside water history. And I've been a 34-year resident, and there were 10 things I didn't know. So I would encourage people to check that out. But I want to thank you for giving us your time. I know you're a very busy director here in the city, and you have a lot of responsibility. So, Lindsay, thank you for joining us today, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
It's amazing the things we take for granted, like fresh water, wastewater, and trash. I hope that this interview has given you an appreciation for the people and technology responsible for these essentials and our quality of life. I was watching a television show not long ago, and it was about a small town whose water system had completely collapsed due to aging and a lack of maintenance. The cost to replace the system was in the tens of millions, a cost this town could not afford. The mayor spoke about how this came to be, and part of what he said was that the town had not raised water rates in years. Now, I'm not asking for higher water rates, but when you pay your water bill, consider all you get for what you pay. If you have suggestions for topics or questions for any of our guests, you may text those to me at 216-7587 or go to the website OSIDE2.com. O'Side's a great place to live, work, and play. Don't make it a mystery. Until next time, I'm your Councilmember Rick Robinson.